Secular music. Now, that's a question I get a decent amount where they ask, can you talk about or, speak on why secular music is evil or it's not okay? And I just want to chat about that because I think the paradigm in the world view of it is what's distorted in the first place. To me, I don't even think there is such thing as secular and sacred. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, when you look in the scriptures or you do some historical research, that is a Platonic worldview where the ancient Greeks said there's a difference between spirit and body. Spirit's good, body's evil. And what they did is they also did that with work, and they let that trickle into work, jobs, and music. And so about medieval times, you had the church kind of being infected by that. And then all of a sudden, where someone could be a blacksmith to the glory of God, someone could be in the meat market to the glory of God, there was kind of this notion in medieval times that you were kind of varsity Christian or more sacred if you were a pastor, a theologian, or a Bible study leader, as we'd say today, right? And that same thing trickled into music. We wretched music out and said, unless it's explicitly talking about Jesus, it's not good and it's not Christian. But I just want to chat about that because if I can just be honest, I struggle with that. Because I still remember when I was in my dorm freshman year when I first started following Jesus, I took hours going through my iTunes library, deleting all my secular music because I thought it was evil. But then I started to realize the barometer isn't like, does it talk about Jesus or not? The barometer is that it's art and it can speak for itself to the glory of God. And so the barometer is it true, beautiful, and excellent, or is it not? And sometimes there's some crossover with, when it's Christian music, we call it, and which one it's in. But, think about that. We say that if it talks about, unglorifying things, sex, drugs, and rock and roll per se, it's evil. Now, of course, I don't want to listen to that stuff because it's not filling my mind with what's good, true, and beautiful. But we very easily call that a sin. But how come when there's Christian music that's really poorly produced and bad art, we don't call that just as much a sin? But biblically it is, because if we're supposed to be products of the Creator, we are supposed to be His creation, reflecting who He is, then that means as Christians, we should have the most creativity. We should also be the best artists because we know the true artist. And so when we're reflecting God as cheesy, as a copycat, as poorly produced, that's just as much sin because we're giving a poor image of who He is and what He's done for us. And that goes not just to music, but to t-shirts and to books and to everything. If you're doing it well, do it with excellence and do something that's true and something that's beautiful. But if you're just sucking the tailpipe of culture, copying what they've done, you're getting the fumes and you're 10 years behind. And so it's outdated and it's cheesy and it's about you trying to be relevant rather than you just trying to be about Jesus. And so that ties into music because how that ties into music is because it comes down to worship. We all worship something, and some of us worship what's not true, some of us worship what is true. Jesus in John chapter 4 says, He comes to the Samaritan woman and He says, no longer will it be about worshiping on this mountain or this mountain. So Christian and secular and evil and good. It's more about worshiping in spirit and in truth, and that is what separates evil from good. And so wherever you go, you take Jesus with you, whether it's in your job, your music, your instruments, your politics, your academics, and that all trickles into the realm of music because what that means is the barometer is it spirit and is it truth? It's not, is it explicitly Christian and does it have a cross on it, right? Even look at the Apostle Paul. He wasn't scared to quote secular people. You see it twice in Acts chapter 17, and you see it in 1 Corinthians 15 where he says, bad company corrupts good morals. And that's just a pagan quote from a poet or philosopher. And we like to not do that. That's like us quoting, Lil Wayne or Michael Jackson. But here's what it comes down to. God can speak through anyone because He has a monopoly on truth. So when you listen to music that might be secular, you have to ask yourself, is it beautiful and is it true? Because God has a monopoly on truth. And so if it's true, it's His and He wants it. Now let's break that down into the practical. So that means for me, I can worship by listening to Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror just as much as I can while listening to Hillsong United. Why? Because Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror is true. If you listen to the song, all it talks about is that to make a change in this world, we need to start with ourselves. And that's beautiful and that's excellent and that's true, which means I can listen to that. It can stir my heart towards God and say, God, yes, amen. I need to start with myself. I need to stop, talking about other people's sin more than I talk about my own, and I need to make the change first. It's true. But are some of other Michael Jackson songs good, beautiful, true, and excellent? Not so much. And so all I'm saying with the secular sacred thing is it's not secular sacred in regards to does it have a cross stamped on it or not, but it comes down to worshiping in beautiful, excellent, and true ways. Worshiping in spirit and in truth. So when you listen to music, ask those questions. Is it beautiful? Is it true? Is it God glorifying? Is it excellent? Because I mean, when you listen to Bach or Mozart or Beethoven, there's no lyrics in there, but I would call their music explicitly Christian because I hear those instruments and I thank God for giving them that gift. I mean, the way the instruments come together so beautifully, the way they then come to my ear and the way my ear is formed to then communicate from there to my brain how awesome the music is, that's all God. He gets glory for all of that. And here's the cool part: when you start to see music and every other domain of life like that, you give God more thanks and you give God more glory because you don't just think he's put into the box of Christendom and American Western Christianity, but if it's true, it's his. You point to him and you tell him he's awesome.